In the dead of night, on a cold March evening in Dallas, Texas, a nurse named Vivian Stone walked through an empty hospital parking lot, heading home after her shift. She had no way of knowing that in the next few moments, her life would change forever, and dark secrets from her past would emerge that would shock an entire nation. What started as a simple kidnapping case would unravel into one of the most chilling tales of double lives, calculated revenge, and systematic murder that Texas had ever seen. This is the story of the Texas Surgeon. Before we dive into this incredible true story, if you're fascinated by deep dives into the most shocking true crime cases, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our True Crime Watch HD community. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. On March 17, 2022, at exactly 11:47 p.m., security cameras at Parkland Memorial Hospital captured what appeared to be a routine scene: a black Ford Transit van entering the staff parking lot. But what happened next would set in motion a chain of events that would expose a deadly secret hidden for over a decade. Four men, later identified as members of the notorious Marcus Kelly gang, had orchestrated an elaborate trap. One of them, James Cole, lay on the ground near the emergency exit, pretending to be injured. It was a cruel irony. They knew a medical professional wouldn't be able to resist helping someone in apparent distress. Let me ask you this. What would you do if you saw someone lying injured in a parking lot? Would you stop to help, or would your instincts tell you something wasn't right? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Vivian Stone, being the dedicated nurse she was, didn't hesitate. As she approached to offer assistance, the other gang members emerged from their hiding spots. Within moments, she was forcibly taken, another victim of what seemed to be a professional kidnapping operation. The kidnappers took her to the Pine Rest Motel, a seedy establishment in Dallas's industrial district. For the next 24 hours, Stone endured unimaginable trauma while the motel manager, Robert Hayes, ignored the disturbing sounds coming from room 115. It's a decision he would later describe to police as the biggest regret of his life. But this is where our story takes its first dramatic turn. When Vivian's husband, Denzel Stone, reported her missing to the Dallas Police Department, no one could have predicted what background checks would reveal. Behind the respectable facade of a medical equipment supplier, Denzel Stone harbored a deadly secret. If you're finding this story as incredible as I do, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to True Crime Watch HD. We bring you meticulously researched cases like this every week, and you won't want to miss a single episode. Between 2008 and 2012, Denzel Stone had operated as one of the most sophisticated contract killers in American history. Known in law enforcement circles as the Texas Surgeon, he had perfected a chilling methodology, using his medical knowledge to disguise murders as natural deaths. Think about that for a moment. A man who had killed 31 people, including a Texas Supreme Court justice and a congressman, had spent the next decade living a seemingly normal life as a loving husband. How many people do we pass every day who might be hiding equally dark secrets? The FBI's records painted a picture of a methodical killer who never left a trace. Stone's victims appeared to die from heart failure, strokes, and other natural causes. His sophisticated knowledge of medical procedures and toxicology made his murders virtually undetectable through standard autopsy procedures. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this case was Stone's transformation. In early 2012, he met Vivian Parker, the woman who would become his wife, while delivering medical supplies to Parkland Memorial Hospital. According to their colleagues, it was a whirlwind romance. They married in December of that same year, shortly after Stone completed what would be his last known contract killing. For 10 years, they lived what appeared to be a perfect life. Vivian had no idea that the man she shared her bed with had once been one of America's most efficient contract killers. Their social media posts showed holiday celebrations, anniversary dinners, and quiet evenings at home, all while Stone kept encrypted records of his past murders hidden on a secret server. But now, with his wife in the hands of brutal kidnappers, Stone faced an impossible choice. Would he maintain his carefully constructed new life, or would he return to his old ways to save the woman he loved? Within 72 hours of his wife's disappearance, the man who had spent a decade building a normal life made a decision that would shake the Dallas criminal underworld to its core. Denzel Stone reactivated a network of informants that had lain dormant since 2012, and what he discovered was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The kidnappers weren't just common criminals. They were part of a sophisticated human trafficking operation run by Marcus Kelly, a subsidiary of the notorious Sinaloa cartel. Over the previous year, 12 other professional women had vanished under similar circumstances, taken from parking lots and public spaces during evening hours. But Kelly's organization had made one crucial mistake. They had kidnapped the wife of a man who knew exactly how to hunt them down. If you're just joining us and haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now. You won't want to miss any details of this incredible true crime case, and we have new stories like this every week on True Crime Watch HD. What happened next was nothing short of methodical annihilation. On March 21, 2022, Marcus Williams, a known associate of the kidnappers, was found dead in his apartment. The cause? Apparent natural causes. Within a week, 3 more bodies would surface, each death appearing to be from medical complications. But these weren't random deaths. Each victim had recently accessed specific information about Kelly's operation. The medical examiner found unusual toxins in their systems, substances that were only available through specialized medical supply chains. The same chains that Denzel Stone had access to through his legitimate business. Here's something to consider. If someone you loved was in danger, how far would you go to save them? Would you cross lines you never thought you would? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The precision of these deaths sent shockwaves through Dallas's criminal underground. Each victim showed signs of carefully administered toxins, but unlike Stone's previous murders as the Texas surgeon, these kills weren't calculated business transactions. They were rushed, emotional acts of revenge. The turning point came on April 2, 2022, when police discovered the bodies of James and Robert Cole, the original kidnappers, in an abandoned warehouse. What investigators found there would haunt even the most seasoned detectives. The Cole brothers had been kept alive for 48 hours, subjected to torture methods that demonstrated an intimate knowledge of human anatomy and pain thresholds. The medical examiner, Dr. Elena Martinez, noted that the perpetrator understood precisely how to inflict maximum pain while keeping the victims conscious and alive. A damaged phone recovered from the scene contained partial audio recordings, the Cole brothers' desperate confessions about Marcus Kelly's operation. They revealed everything: safe houses, key personnel, organizational structure. But for Stone, this was just the beginning. Over the next 7 days, Dallas would witness a systematic dismantling of Kelly's entire operation. The bodies began piling up. Thomas Reynolds, the logistics coordinator, found in his car with surgical precision cuts to major arteries. Michael Harrison and Peter Walsh, enforcement team members, discovered in a storage unit showing signs of systematic torture. Miguel Jones, the financial operator, located in his home office after extensive interrogation. William Foster and James Martinez, security detail, found in an abandoned mechanic shop. Each crime scene was more sophisticated than the last, showing an evolution in Stone's methodology. He was no longer just killing. He was extracting information, working his way up the chain of command, getting closer to the man who had ordered his wife's kidnapping. The Dallas Police Department established a dedicated task force, but they were always one step behind. Stone used his knowledge of police procedures to stay ahead, leaving just enough evidence to let law enforcement follow his progress. It was as if he wanted them to witness his systematic revenge. Cell phone records revealed that each victim had received calls from burner phones shortly before their deaths. Stone was using his knowledge of criminal networks against them, luring targets to isolated locations. Each victim's last moments showed they thought they were meeting someone they trusted. As April 2022 wore on, the Dallas criminal underworld was gripped by fear. Nobody knew who would be next, but everyone understood one chilling truth. A professional killer had emerged from retirement, and he wouldn't stop until he found his wife. The hunt for Marcus Kelly reached its devastating climax on April 15, 2022, in Dallas's southern industrial zone. Intelligence gathered from Stone's victims had led both law enforcement and the vengeful husband to Kelly's final stronghold, the abandoned Texas steel manufacturing facility. Surveillance footage from that night tells a chilling story. At 11:45 p.m., Kelly and his 5 remaining lieutenants entered the facility, heavily armed and prepared for a siege. They knew someone was hunting them, but they had no idea they were dealing with a man who had spent years perfecting the art of systematic killing. If you're finding this story as gripping as we do, make sure to subscribe to True Crime Watch HD. We dive deep into cases like this every week, uncovering details that most people never hear about. What happened next would become legend in Dallas law enforcement circles. At 2:37 a.m., multiple 911 dispatchers received calls reporting gunfire at the facility. Security cameras from adjacent buildings captured sporadic muzzle flashes and recorded a sustained firefight lasting 42 minutes. But this wasn't a chaotic shootout, it was a calculated execution. Think about this for a moment. What kind of person can maintain such precise, surgical control even in the middle of a gunfight? What does it take to stay that methodical while pursuing revenge? Share your thoughts below. When the FBI's hostage rescue team finally entered the facility at 4 a.m., they found a scene that seemed more like a medical examination gone wrong than a typical crime scene. 5 bodies were discovered at strategic points throughout the building, each showing evidence of both gunshot wounds and precise surgical trauma. Stone had utilized his knowledge of the building's layout, acquired through his medical supply business years earlier, to create the perfect killing ground. He had spent days preparing the site, establishing kill zones and escape routes. Each of Kelly's men had been eliminated with surgical precision, suggesting Stone had maintained his professional composure even during direct combat. But Marcus Kelly's fate was different. Unlike his associates, Kelly endured approximately 2 hours of systematic torture before death. A digital recorder found at the scene contained his detailed confession about the organization's operations and his role in Vivian Stone's abduction. But Stone wasn't finished. Even as the FBI was discovering Kelly's body, encrypted files began arriving at major news outlets and law enforcement agencies across Texas. These files contained comprehensive documentation of Stone's activities as the Texas surgeon between 2008 and 2012, every contract, every payment, every kill. The files revealed not just the 31 confirmed murders, but evidence of 15 additional kills previously unknown to investigators. This wasn't a simple data leak, it was a fail-safe system Stone had prepared years earlier. If he ever returned to violence, evidence of all his past crimes would automatically become public. He had anticipated the possibility of returning to his old life and had prepared accordingly. The implications were staggering. For 10 years, Stone had lived a double life, building a legitimate business and a loving marriage while keeping his past buried. But he had also maintained a dead man's switch, ready to expose everything if circumstances ever forced him back into violence. When Texas Department of Public Safety officers finally intercepted Stone at a private airfield outside Dallas at 5:45 a.m., he offered no resistance. In his possession were a laptop containing additional evidence about Kelly's organization and a detailed journal documenting his week of vengeance. The journal revealed something profound about Stone's character. Each murder had been planned not just for revenge, but as part of a methodical information-gathering operation. Every death brought him closer to finding his wife's location. Even in the depths of emotional turmoil, he had maintained the same calculating precision that had made him such an effective contract killer. The FBI's crime scene analysis would later reveal that Stone's final assault on the steel facility was a masterpiece of tactical planning. He had combined military tactics with medical expertise, creating a deadly hybrid of combat efficiency and surgical precision. His medical knowledge wasn't just used for killing. It was used to ensure his targets suffered maximum pain while staying alive long enough to provide information. The aftermath of Denzel Stone's week of revenge would send shockwaves through the Texas criminal justice system for months to come. His systematic dismantling of Kelly's organization had effectively ended one of the largest human trafficking operations in Texas history, but it had also forced the justice system to confront an unprecedented legal challenge. On September 12, 2022, the state of Texas versus Denzel Stone began in the Dallas County Criminal Court. The courthouse was packed with media, victims' families, and curious onlookers, all eager to catch a glimpse of the man who had lived such an extraordinary double life. District Attorney Gwen Henderson faced a monumental task, prosecuting a case that spanned nearly 15 years of criminal activity. The charges were staggering: 31 first-degree murders from his time as the Texas surgeon, 7 additional revenge killings from 2022, multiple counts of torture, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. The evidence presented in court painted a picture of two distinct periods in Stone's criminal career. The first was characterized by cold, calculated contract killings, deaths that appeared natural, executed with clinical precision for monetary gain. The second was a week of passionate revenge, where his medical knowledge was used not just to kill, but to extract information through carefully calculated torture. Before we continue, if you're fascinated by the psychological complexity of this case, make sure to hit that subscribe button. True Crime Watch HD brings you in-depth analysis of cases that challenge our understanding of human nature. The trial took an emotional turn during its second week when Vivian Stone appeared in court for the first time. The woman who had unknowingly lived with one of America's most sophisticated contract killers for a decade sat in the witness stand, still bearing the physical and emotional scars of her ordeal. Her testimony would prove to be one of the most compelling moments of the trial. "For 10 years, I thought I knew him," she told the court, her voice trembling. "We had dinner together every night. He remembered every anniversary, every birthday. How could I not know?" Consider this question. Is it possible to truly know another person? How many of us might be living with secrets we never suspect? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The defense team, led by attorney Michael Roberts, attempted to portray Stone's actions as justified vigilantism. They argued that law enforcement's failure to protect his wife had driven him to take extreme measures. But this strategy crumbled when prosecutors revealed evidence of Stone's pre-planned information release system, proof that he had anticipated returning to violence years before his wife's abduction. Expert testimony from FBI behavioral analysts provided fascinating insights into Stone's psychology. Dr. James Patterson, the lead profiler, testified that the level of premeditation in both sets of crimes indicated an individual who maintained complete emotional control while committing acts of extreme violence. The only difference between his contract killings and revenge murders was the motivation, not the methodology, Dr. Patterson explained to the jury. In both cases, we see the same attention to detail, the same careful planning, the same understanding of human anatomy and physiology. The only thing that changed was why he was killing. The prosecution presented Stone's own meticulous records as evidence, detailed documentation of over $15 million in contract payments, methodologies for each kill, and even post-operation analyses of what went right and wrong in each assassination. These records revealed a mind that treated murder as a science, constantly refining and improving his techniques. The financial investigation alone was staggering. The Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit traced complex networks of shell companies, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland, and seemingly legitimate medical supply businesses that had been used to launder his criminal proceeds. But perhaps most chilling were the recordings recovered from the steel facility where Stone had conducted his final act of revenge. The audio captured during Kelly's interrogation revealed a man who could maintain perfect composure while inflicting unimaginable pain. Stone could be heard calmly asking questions about his wife's whereabouts, his voice never rising above a conversational tone, even as his victim screamed. The jury deliberated for just 6 hours before reaching their verdict. Legal experts had expected longer deliberations given the case's complexity, but the evidence was overwhelming. Stone was found guilty on all counts. During the sentencing phase, the court heard impact statements from families of victims spanning both periods of Stone's criminal career. The relatives of his contract-killing victims spoke of lives cut short by what appeared to be natural causes, of suspicions that were dismissed for years, of closure that came too late. The families of his revenge-killing victims told a different story, one of brutal, calculated violence that had torn apart the Dallas criminal underworld. Some even expressed a disturbing gratitude that Stone's actions had helped dismantle a human trafficking operation that had terrorized the city. When the time came for Stone's final statement to the court, he addressed only one person, his wife. The courtroom fell silent as he spoke the words that would be quoted in newspapers across the country. "For the first time in my life, I killed for something other than money. Every life I took in the past was a transaction. This time, it was personal. I don't regret saving you, but I regret that you had to learn the truth about who I am." On October 15, 2022, Judge Maria Rodriguez prepared to deliver one of the most significant sentences in Texas criminal history. The courtroom fell silent as she began to speak, her words carrying the weight of justice for dozens of victims across 2 distinct periods of violence. The sentence was unprecedented, 300 years in federal prison without the possibility of parole. The breakdown was methodical, just like the man it was meant to punish. 10 years for each of his contract killings, 20 years for each revenge murder, all to be served consecutively. Additionally, Stone was ordered to pay $50 million in restitution to the victims' families. But the story of the Texas surgeon didn't end with the bang of a judge's gavel. Stone was transferred to ADX Florence, Colorado's federal supermax facility, a place often referred to as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. There, in a concrete cell measuring 7 by 12 feet, the man who once moved freely through high society now spends 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. Prison records paint a fascinating picture of Stone's adaptation to incarceration. The same methodical behavior that characterized his life outside continues behind bars. He follows a strict daily routine, avoiding interaction with other inmates, maintaining the same calculated precision that made him both an effective killer and a successful businessman. Before we conclude this extraordinary case, if you found this story as compelling as we have, take a moment to subscribe to True Crime Watch HD. We're dedicated to bringing you the most in-depth coverage of cases that challenge our understanding of human nature. The final question this case leaves us with is perhaps the most disturbing. How well do we really know the people closest to us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For Vivian Stone, the answer to that question would change her life forever. 1 month after the sentencing, she filed for divorce. She has since left Dallas, changed her name, and according to her attorney, is attempting to rebuild her life away from the shadow of her husband's crimes. The impact of the Texas surgeon case continues to reverberate through the criminal justice system. The revelation of Stone's activities led to the reopening of dozens of cold cases across multiple jurisdictions. Medical examiners began reviewing deaths previously classified as natural, specifically focusing on cases involving prominent individuals between 2008 and 2012. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit has since developed new protocols for identifying sophisticated contract killers who use medical knowledge to disguise their crimes. Stone's methodology has become a case study in law enforcement training programs across the country. But perhaps the most chilling legacy of this case is the questions it raises about human nature itself. Denzel Stone was not just a contract killer. He was a man who successfully maintained 2 completely separate lives for over a decade. By day, he was a loving husband and successful businessman. By night, he kept detailed records of his past murders, maintaining a dead man's switch that would expose everything if he ever returned to violence. When his wife was kidnapped, Stone didn't just revert to his old ways, he evolved them. He transformed from a calculating contract killer into an agent of methodical revenge, using his medical knowledge not just to kill, but to systematically dismantle an entire criminal organization. The Texas surgeon case stands as a testament to the complexity of human nature and the thin line between justice and revenge. It reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous predators aren't those hiding in the shadows, but those hiding in plain sight, behind the facade of normal lives, loving relationships, and successful careers. As for Denzel Stone, he continues to serve his sentence in solitary confinement, his methodical nature now confined to the rigid routine of prison life. The man who once moved invisibly through society, dealing death with surgical precision, now lives in a concrete box, his skills, his precision, and his calculating mind trapped within walls he will never escape. The next time you think you know someone completely, remember the story of the Texas surgeon. Remember that sometimes the darkest secrets hide behind the most normal facades. And remember that even love, pure, genuine love, can coexist with the capacity for calculated violence. This has been True Crime Watch HD. Thank you for joining us for this incredible story. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, things aren't always what they seem.